What's going on, folks? Eddie here. I hope you're having a fantastic day. So today we're back down at Torque. We're working on the 124 again. So there's a couple things we need to figure out to get this thing ready to go on the road. Right now, the car is not exactly being the most reliable thing. What we had to do last time was load about 40 tunes through the car to try and find one that would actually catch and run on the car. That was kind of boring, didn't really feel like showing you that part. So today we're gonna do a few things that we think we need to do before we can get this thing truly running properly. Firstly, we're gonna replace the cam sensor. John and I think that there's something wrong with the one that came with the TJet upper. That's simple enough. There was multiple camshaft sensors sitting around, so we're gonna throw a new one in. And then after that, it's time to dive deeper into the tuning. Camshafts use magnetic Hall sensors to see where they are in the rotation. And the ECU uses that and the crank position to get initial timing set on the engine, at least in terms of the ECU. When you're dealing with a multi-air camshaft, that's not such a big deal. The ECU already knows what to do with the multi-air, but with the TJet, it's completely different. The Hall sensor on a TJet is detecting one space, whereas in a multi-air, it's seeing 3 gaps. And that makes a big difference in terms of how the ECU is tuned. And that's the biggest thing you have to overcome when you're tuning one of these things to run a TJet. Now, obviously, there's also the issue of having to tell the ECU to not worry about multi-air. There's a setting in the ECU that we can hit that just says, hey, multi-air off, but that unfortunately isn't the end of it. There is a lot of other aspects that need to be taken care of in the ECU in order for it to run properly without a multi-air brake. So that's where we're at today. John is tuning the car to run on the new camshaft setup. Last video I talked about how the TJet uses a Bosch ECU, whereas the multi-air uses a Magneti Marelli ECU. And that's where the difficulty in this truly lies. The information for the TJet, at least in terms of what happens in the cylinder head, does not exist in the multi-air ECU. John has to literally make that ECU be like the Bosch ECU. In terms of tuning difficulty, this is far beyond any power tuning. Tuning for power on a multi-air is not that big a deal. Just because I've had a hard time with my engine doesn't mean anything. We've all seen what happened with my last 124. No, I don't mean running it into a tree, but John made 247 wheel horsepower with that car. And to be really clear, that's wheel horsepower. That's about 280. That's pretty substantial. Considering he tuned my 500 to 260 plus, that's about 300 brake horsepower. So making power on multi-air for John is not a big deal. This engine build has just been an absolute hassle. So a lot of folks were wondering what happened with the last build. One thing that we didn't talk much about in the videos is the multi-air bricks we were using were John's rebuilt ones. We were rebuilding multi-air bricks to put in the car. And we think that there's something wrong with the multi-air bricks we were using. And to be frank, I don't feel like spending the money to buy another multi-air brick. And that's part of the reason we're doing this. And it's a lot more fun, because I know there's a lot of people out there with bone stock Fiats that have had their multi-air bricks fail taking out an engine. While multi-air is good emissions tech, it's not exactly reliable in the long run. And that's another reason why a TJet is such a huge change and such a huge advantage for one of these cars. Yeah, it takes a much better tuner to make it happen, but I don't have a problem with that. Anyhow, if you like what we're doing, don't forget to hit the like button, smash it if you so desire, and don't forget to subscribe. It's what your mom would want you to do.
Replacing the cam sensor is not a blind guess. Once the timing light was hooked up, it would miss the occasional pulse coming out of the cam sensor. Now, after eliminating that the connection wasn't the source of the bad pulse, we narrowed it down to having to be the cam sensor. Fortunately, the cam sensor on a TJet is a lot easier to change than a cam sensor on a multi-air. The TJet sensor is directly on top of the engine, whereas the multi-airs is on the back of the engine on the underside.
Magnetic material around the top of this.
Is there?
Yeah, up here where these little bumps are.
So I just wiped one of them off. Yeah, there's a bunch of magnetic material.
Yeah, there's a ton of it on it. It's gross.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
That's probably all magnetic material. Because the only way shit sticks to these,
Yeah.
magnetic in nature.
So we didn't change out the TJet cam sensor when we put it in. We just checked the cams to make sure they were okay, but we didn't pay much attention. So we swapped out that cam sensor. Don't know if it's going to make much of a difference, but yeah, we're going to give it a shot anyways.
That was instant. Dude, it is running so perfect.
Now I need you to go in and... Nope. You're gonna try something different. Try it again. I don't understand it. Try rev it over 5K real quick.
Rev it over?
Yeah. What it goes to?
5K.
So we're still stuck on something 5K wise.
Yeah.
Okay, so considering we're getting it starting regularly with just an occasional hiccup, I'm gonna go ahead and screw with the edges of the cam sensor profile because I think there might be an actual range, a degree.
Can I turn it off?
Yeah. So there might actually be it may be measuring the gap in degrees.
Okay.
So if we have that gap,
I have the specs.
no, fair enough, but you gotta remember there were 3 gaps previously.
Yeah.
So if one of those gaps, if I have the degrees spaced out on 3 gaps, because I haven't adjusted any of the gaps on the cam sensor yet, because I really don't know how that works.
Yeah, no, fair enough. I wouldn't expect it.
So if I go through and adjust those gaps, we should be able to get over 5K, and then the only thing we have to deal with is the multi-air check engine lights.
It's a miserable first day for it to be running.
Right?
Yeah.
Well,
no, it runs, but I mean first day for it to be
first. Yeah, but first day to be driven because, let's be honest, we've had it running for a week. We just can't get it to consistently start all the time.
Yeah, it starts most of the time,
Yeah.
but it's okay. We'll figure that out.
Knock that out, and then we'll go out and do a slalom course in the rain. Oh, we'll just pair the Stinger up against the Fiat in the rain. At least I know I can beat you there.
Yeah, probably.
With that, oh god. You
right.
have 235s on your car?
250, or yeah, 235s, yeah.
Yeah, I got one under tire.
Yeah. Whatever. All right, we're on our way to the shop, obviously. The car starts most of the time, which is good. That's an accomplishment on something that shouldn't work in the first place, but we still have some work ahead of us. Hopefully, we can get to start every time. We're on the right path, we think. After that, we can try and make some power.
Shit,
That's going to take some time still.
We're just throwing dice at a wall right
It's
now.
fun, isn't it, though?
Oh, yay!
Yay!
So fun!
Nah.
Oh, no, it's not fun at all.
It is kind of fun for me. It's not fun for John. It's very entertaining for me.
Hey, this is the fail, repeat, fail. Oh, success.
Yeah.
So the success does pay off in the end.
I've been very fortunate. There's been a lot more success than failure so far.
Oh, why did you have to say that?
All right, so we're back at the shop. I'm loading tunes into the car. Now, John mentioned the car not starting every time, and that's to do with the differences in the cylinder head. So because we changed the upper top section, the camshaft is completely different, and the Morelli ECU is written for the multi-year camshaft. So that means what John's had to do is write the Morelli ECU to operate a TJet camshaft, which is not exactly easy, but we're super close. So the best tune so far that we've loaded manages to start the car 4 times out of 5. Once in a while it'll miss it, but we're super, super close. So I'm loading the last out of the test tunes to see if this one catches better than the rest. I think we calculated the total combinations that we have to try to get the correct, we'll just call it the correct situation to start every time, at something along the lines of 7,000 different permutations. Yeah, that's a lot of tunes, but we'll figure out a faster way. So, yeah, I'm just gonna get back to loading tunes. Hopefully this doesn't take too long. Really, just for the purposes of wanting to get going, I just want to start for the most part so we can move into the other fun stuff. So I loaded tunes for the next couple hours, but we weren't able to find anything that really got past the 4 start, 1 not start situation. So we moved into the next best thing, testing the car for the very first time. And the car can drive on its own. It's really rainy out. Probably not the best day for a first drive, but as you can see, it works. So the car is running the TJet head on the Magneti Morelli ECU. There is still work to be done. We still need to make some power. The car is for the most part starting every time now. There's a couple little things we need to figure out, but it's nothing that's gonna stop us. We can figure that out as we go. It starts like 4 out of 5 times at this point, and right now I'll take that as a win. But as you can see, the car is driving under its own power, which is a win. And okay, so the throttle has gotten much smoother. Actually, that's really weird. Hold on.
Okay, a multi-air engine, stock, tuned, whatever, would have a bit of bucking when you're trying to use part throttle like that really slowly, especially when you're in sport mode. No, I think we're onto something here, folks. This is working. We're gonna leave it here for today. This is it. Next Friday, we'll have to get into the dyno tuning. Yeah, we might not have got to the power part this week, but this thing's moving under its own power. Here I thought I was gonna use standalone. Okay, folks, I will see you next week. And we're gonna see how much power this thing can make. And pro tip, there's no way this thing's gonna make anywhere under 300 horsepower. In fact, I'm pretty sure we can beat some of these silly times that are made up on the internet. Yeah. All right, till next time, folks. Later.